Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the portfolio as usual with another transparency update for today. And so far, from what I've seen with the market, it's just another one of those pretty bad days. I'm down a little over, almost actually 3%. I was going to say just a little over 2%, but we're almost down 3% counting the after hours. And by the way, as always, if you all do enjoy these transparency updates where I just talk about my portfolio, the recent moves that have happened in the stock market with some of the stocks that I own as well, then please make sure to smash that like button. It really does help me out, and it also helps with the YouTube algorithm. So I definitely appreciate the love. But like I said, today we had a significant drop just within the portfolio. And unlike yesterday, everything else seems to be consistently red as well. You have the indexes like the S&P 500, which VOO is based on. Then you have NASDAQ, which is just barely in the green. I'm actually surprised that NASDAQ was green for today because if you look at every other stock on this list, pretty much every single one of them are red, except for some that had some news released today that played a role in the movements of that stock. So, like I said, we're down 2.33% for today. That's around minus $2,549. And then for the after hours, it's negative as well at minus 0.59% or minus $627.52. So definitely a significant red day today. And honestly, though, this is just something you have to expect with the stock market. There are always going to be these up and down movements where, yes, you can get excited on the green days, but when it comes to the red days, you kind of just have to ignore all of the noise and the road bumps and just keep that vision for the long term, because that's what really matters. When I bought all three of these stocks, I wasn't thinking about just within the next year or so. I was thinking about like within the next 20 to 40 years. So I still have that confidence there and nothing changes with that. And with the everyday movements, the only reason that I focus on these videos and kind of break down the daily movements is just because it gives me something to talk about. And I know that you all like discussing it as well. So that's why I do the transparency updates, not because I'm worried about the daily up and down movements, but just because it's fun to engage in the stock market and discuss things that are going on. So like I said, not a great day at all. Actually, no gains for today. Even the free stock didn't even give us gains. It was close at minus 0.12%. But we still didn't hit the green. So just breaking down how the morning started out, at 9 a.m. it started out significantly in the red at minus 2.76%. That's actually a really, really low place to start for the pre-market. And once it finally hit the normal market hours at 9:30, it hit this low point at minus 2.75%. So at the beginning of the normal market hours at 9:30, it was pretty much where it started at the pre-market hours at 9. So we went from minus 2.75% all the way up to minus 1.54%, which is around minus $1,700 at 9:40 a.m. And then once again, we had that typical volatility that we've seen the past 3 days, and it dropped down to minus 3.15% at 10:05 a.m., which is about a $3,500 loss at that point. And then once again, we saw much more volatility, rebounded up at 10:45 a.m. to minus 2.23%, dropped back down once again to an all-time low for today, I believe, at minus 3.38%, which is around $3,700. And then after this point at 11:10 a.m., we kind of had this uphill climb with a few dips here and there, but the general trend was upwards until we hit this 1:15 p.m. marker where we got up to around minus 0.28%, which is much better. I'd rather have minus $1,400 in losses than this minus $3,700 that we had, in this range right here. So we hit that point at 1:15 p.m. Then again, we had much more volatility after that and hit this point at 2:45, around 2:40. At minus 1769 or minus 1.61%. Once again, much more volatility until we hit this peak again at 3:30 p.m. at minus 1.62%. And then pretty much from 3:30 p.m. and on, it seems like some people started to panic sell. I'm assuming some people just panic sold because they saw how bad of a day it started out as, especially in the pre-market. And keep in mind that this portfolio only applies to these three main stocks, so like Tesla, Microsoft, and Apple. So when I'm talking about people panic selling, I'm mostly discussing what is going on with these three stocks and not your indexes and things like NASDAQ and ETFs like VOO, which kind of represent the general stock market trend. So keep in mind what I'm talking about is geared towards these three stocks and not ones like VOO. So this isn't what the general stock market is doing. As you can see with VOO, it's a little bit more consistent. It's not as much volatility, it seems like. And at 3:55, we are at minus 2.32%. And then once we entered the after hours for the market, it pretty much dropped down even more until this low point at minus 0.99%. Keep in mind, this is actually more realistically a a little over -3%, I would say. And then pretty much until the end of the after hours that we can see on this chart, we had much more volatility, spiked up at 5:10 p.m., dropped back down, and then leveled out at the end of the day at -0.88% for the after hours. So definitely not a great day. But like I said before, this is just something that you have to expect out of the stock market and out of stocks like Tesla stock, because Tesla is always likely going to be that volatile stock. It's one of the most shorted stocks in the stock market. And there's also plenty of newer investors buying Tesla that may start to panic sell once they see these dips. Because I have to admit, there's a lot of investors out there that are investing in Tesla and they say they're in it for the long term. But when it really gets down to it and they start to see these red days where it's dropping 4% and they've just bought in at like $1,500 or $1,550 or even $1,700, that's when you get these more casual investors that start to panic sell. Because when it does come down to it, many of these people just don't have the stomach for it to see it drop that much on a red day. And that's why it's so important to understand your risk tolerance, because for one thing, if you address your risk tolerance before you make any moves in the stock market, then you won't have a bad day where you end up panic selling at a loss. And for the long-term investors out there that know the stock is going up in the long term, which is what I do, I just look at these days as opportunity. And I always try to emphasize that so much, because green days are always something you can be excited about, grateful for. And then a red day, it just means that the stock is cheaper than it was before. So if you want to get into the game a little bit more, then you can buy some of these stocks at a cheaper price than they were at the day before. So that's my logic with the stock market. Honestly, I think that's a really good mindset to have, because it gives you that long-term vision when you're able to look at a red day as something other than just, oh man, I'm losing money today. If you can look at that in a more positive light and use it to your advantage, then that's really an aggressive way of making money. I would honestly call that more of like offensive investing, rather than some of these other people that panic sell or check the market every 5 minutes because they're worried about it dropping down or something happening in the market that makes them lose money temporarily. And like I always say, you technically haven't lost any money until you've sold the position. So even though it says -$2,000 for a day or -$3,100 overall, that doesn't mean I've lost this money. I've only lost it if I sell at this point. So even though I technically say I lost like $2,500 today or $3,100 today, it's technically not lost until you sell. And with a lot of these stocks, I expect in the future to eventually regain the losses that we've had over the past few days and go much farther past it. And if we look at my all-time portfolio, that's exactly what I've done so far. That's the strategy that I've used. And especially on this dip right here, there was a lot of people spreading fear on the way down, which I guess it was rightfully so, because the Rona situation was something that we haven't had experience with in a long time. I know you had like the 1920s flu epidemic, which was definitely a big deal as well, but this is something that we really hadn't had experience with a lot in the past, because we've never had like worldwide lockdowns because of some sort of virus. And it was definitely new territory. So a lot of people were fearful. And instead of being one of those fearful people, I took the advice of Warren Buffett and I became greedy when others were fearful. As the statement goes, be fearful when the others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. So that's exactly what I did. I bought a lot of Microsoft stock on the way down, and I have to admit I put a significant amount of money on the way up as well with Microsoft stock. And I believe in April and May is when I really started to put a lot of money into Tesla stock. Thankfully, I sold my position out of VOO, which was around $32,000, and then I put that money into both Tesla and Microsoft, and because of that, it was a pretty solid play, and it made me a lot of money, and that's one of the main reasons why my stock portfolio is almost up 48% as of right now, just for the past year. So with all of that being said, and me just addressing my logic and my mindset with the market right now, I'll go ahead and run through the numbers for today. Like I said, unfortunately, no gains for today, so we'll just be running through the losses, but as you can see, Tesla stock took a significant drop today. This was definitely one of those stocks in the market today that got hit pretty hard, and it's at minus 3.89% for today so far. And then for today's return, we lost around $2,045.44. And like I mentioned earlier, it's technically not lost until I sell it, but I just say that for convenience. And then for the total return, we are still up over 70% at plus 77.03% and around $22,000 in gains. So I'm definitely excited about this, and I'm really happy with my position so far. I just want to increase it more in the future because I think there's a lot of potential with this one. And moving on to the next one, we have Microsoft stock. Now, I have some thoughts on Microsoft stock. I think this is actually a decent opportunity to buy this stock right now. Yes, it's not on sale to a crazy amount, but it has been on a little bit of a decline lately where I think there could be an opportunity to buy this on sale right now. I think $203 is a pretty solid fair price to get in right now, especially because I think Microsoft, I mean, if you look at the trends for this stock so far, I think it's going to keep continuing on this same trend because their business model is excellent. They have consistent earnings reports that are positive, and I just think this is a great stock. In addition, it's a dividend stock, so I'm probably going to hold this regardless because I do need some dividends considering that I have a large amount of money in Tesla stock, which has no dividends. So with that being said, I lost around 2.25% for today, which is around minus $214.55. And then for the total return, we are at plus 18.65% or plus $6,232.53. And then finally, we have Apple stock, which I honestly cannot complain about because Apple has been going to the moon recently. And we lost around 1.59% today, or around $260.40. And then for the total return, we are still at plus 34.53%, or plus $4,147.32. So I'm definitely excited to see how soon this one will hit $400. I think it could happen, but keep in mind when you do have like these milestone numbers, like especially in the hundreds, when you hit that next 100 number, many stocks do commonly have a little bit of resistance. I know like with Microsoft stock, there was a lot of resistance with that one with hitting the $200 marker. I know back in like early February, it was nearing 200 and then we finally had that crash and it dropped all the way down to like $135 at one point, and then now it finally got over that $200 number. So these big numbers like 200 and 400, they're definitely milestone numbers, and I do commonly see stocks facing a little bit of resistance when it comes to breaking over those numbers, but it's just a matter of time when it will happen with Apple, unless there's just another general stock market crash sometime soon. But anyways, I just wanted to share my losses for today. The full transparency update as always. I like to keep it real with you all, even on the loss days as well. I'm not ashamed to share my losses at all because it's just a part of the market. It happens all the time, and it happens every day across many people's portfolios. So I just want to share this with you all. Maybe you all can identify with it a little bit, but I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please make sure to smash that like button if you did, and also feel free to sign up to Robinhood and Webull with my referral link in the description. If you sign up with those links, then you'll get some free stocks, which is always nice passive income. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.